My name is Shanique Liz Yates, and I am the granddaughter of Sharon Bonner Yates. I am the great-granddaughter of John Moses and Laura Mae Bonner. Voices Unheard is a series that I wanted to share with others because it is so important to me to share the Black history that's right within our backyard. My vision with Voices Unheard is to share Black stories that inform, uplift, and inspire current generations, past generations, and generations to come. Today, I present to you Voices Unheard, a personal collection of the stories in my family and the foundation of the matriarch, John Moses and Laura Mae Bonner.
I first met John and Laura when I was a very little girl. My dad used to bring me out here, and they were working our farm at that point. And I used to play with his oldest daughter. She would look after me and make me behave and not be ugly to anybody, and she, I guess, taught me manners to a certain extent. Family bond with them was strong because I knew them from the time I was very small, and I knew them until they died. So it was just a close relationship from childhood.
My name is Dinwiddie Yates, and I fall into the lineage of John and Laura Bonner. They are my grandparents. I am the son of their daughter, Sharon Bonner Yates. I was born into the Bonner family, was raised by the Bonners and the Yateses, and all they did was worked and farmed and loved their family and showed us how to treat each other and showed us how to treat others. Farming means a lot to me because I had farming on both sides of my family, on John and Laura's side and Roger and Pearl's side. I was mostly brought up and raised with Roger and Pearl Yates, and we had a tobacco farm. Actually, the tobacco farm was right over here, so it was all connected. And then later on in my life, when I came back from Ohio, I came in with my grandpa Moses Bonner and my uncle Lester and farmed for maybe a year after I left Ohio Auto Diesel Tech. We maybe raised 600-700 acres of soybeans and maybe 200 acres of peanuts. And before we ended it, we had got into raising cotton. A value that they gave to me that I passed on was hard work, faith, sacrifice, and treating others with respect, dignity, and kindness.
My mother would always say, when you give to someone else, you get it back abundantly, and it does work. So as a result, they taught me that sharing and serving were important to being who you are and whose you are. My name is Sharon Bonner Yates, and I am the 8th child in the lineage of John and Laura Bonner lineage. I am the baby. Growing up as a Black girl in Dinwiddie County was difficult at times. I was subject to some things that my sisters and brothers may not have been subject to, because of the 8 of us, I was was the only one to go to an integrated school. And when I say we were integrated, it's because I was one of the first 100 students to integrate Dinwiddie High School in 1965. And so I was part of a group that we referred to ourselves as the Dinwiddie Little Rock 9. But it was difficult at times because we were called names. We were isolated. At times, I was literally afraid at times. And so being a child in Dinwiddie County during the before integration was knowing that we were always treated as second nature in regards to being citizens. I would see white children were able to go and do things that I was not able to go and do. And so I wondered, I was very curious about that, and I wondered why, and I think that was one reason why I decided to be a part of the group that was that did the freedom of choice to go to Dinwiddie High School.
Growing up in Dinwiddie County, you know, during the segregation, we had different schools, different school buses. We was all, you know, everything was separate. And you could go certain places and you couldn't go certain places. They had one place down called Al Smith's or something, a little diner like. And they had places in there where the white people could go and sit and eat. But if you came in, you had to buy your stuff and get out. A lot have changed in Dinwiddie County, but it's always, you still seem like the blacks, it get the seconds or something like that. You know, even if you, like me, like I own that farm, it's like I'm always getting the less, you know, get the lower end of the pole. You don't get a fair shot at barn money or nothing like that. Farming provided everything for me. But when I became grown and was working side by side with my dad, you know, it just became a way of life with me. So I feel like farming, the path me, and you know, that's just my way of life, and that's the way I feel about it. I once told them in the office up there when they landed, we was trying to get a loan, me and my dad, and the loan got behind and this, that, and the other. So they was talking about, they were trying to talk us into getting out of farming. So I told them, I said, look, man, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to borrow myself out of farming. But the only way you'll get me out of farming is my hand be across my chest. And if you do get me out, you'll be losing a damn good farmer.
Growing up as a farmer, at that time I didn't really like it, but now that I've gotten grown, I'm glad I did. My dad was a farmer because I learned a lot. Farmers produce a lot, so I was glad I was a part of that. My name is Dorothy Wyatt, and I am the first child of John and Laura Bonner. The bonds with my sisters was I was the oldest, but I also learned something from them. You know, we loved to play with the dolls together, and we pretty much played among ourselves a lot, because we didn't go a lot of places. Prior to integration, I was kind of scary at times, but with my family, my mom and dad, I got through it. Mm-hmm. They taught me to work, how to work, and take care of myself.
Growing up before integration was not good, but it's about the same right now. But what we were growing up to do is still respect people, to keep yourself in track, and to let everybody know that God only made us all, and we are human, and we are all, in God's eyes, the same people. John Moses and Laura May taught me to take care of myself, to be polite, to do the things that, and they encourage me to do things to better my life as I grow, and to be obedient, and to do the many right things. As parents, they were very, very, very good.
Grandma La and Grandpa Moses, working as sharecroppers meant that they were hard workers, and while as a sharecropper, you worked a farm, and that was how you fed your family, and you fed your family by working hard on very little. and they could, with such a large family, they made sure that everybody had what they needed. And as I was growing up as a granddaughter, and when I went away to school, I will always remember Grandma, as I was heading back to school, always digging in her pocketbook to get and folding up money and balling it up and sticking it in my pocket so no one else could see it. So they wanted to make sure that as a sharecropper, they worked hard to make sure their family had what they need on very little.
And to piggyback off of that, I am so proud of my uncles, Uncle Lester and Uncle John, because you have so many people back then that worked farms that didn't own the land. You know, and that was just so unfortunate because you were busting your back, working hard for somebody else's, for other people and other people's property. And I'm just so thankful now that my uncle they came back and purchased all of the land. Yeah.
I am Tracy Johnson, granddaughter, and fortunately I was raised by my grandparents. Grandma La and Grandpa Moses, when we did tobacco, we were always, like I'm going off of what I've heard Monique and Patty say as well, we always made sure that whoever was there to help or whatever, they made sure we had food, we had whatever we needed to get the job done, to make it, it wasn't easy, but to make it somewhat fun to do. They were very hard workers. Grandpa worked at Brandon Williams for years, and Grandma worked at Central State Hospital. So I would like for my son, because I only have one son, and I have 3 grandkids, to know that you have to be a hard worker and you have to provide for your family. And that I hope that that will be instilled in all of us in the Bonner family to carry on that legacy, to be hard workers and be there for one another.
I am John William Bonner, and I was the first boy and after 4 girls. So I fall in line as the 5th. Growing up was not really, I didn't really feel bad about it because I knew whatever I was doing, it was things that I knew I had to do. You know, I didn't let certain things bother me as far as being racially affected or whatever, unless somebody maybe said something. And I do remember one time a young man called me a slave, and that kind of set me off because I knew what he meant when he said that, and you know, little things like that. But they didn't ever bother me, but you know, some things would just set you off, you know, all depending on what you knew about it. So, but as far as growing up in Dinwiddie, it didn't really dawn on me because we did what we were supposed to do, and we didn't too much, you know, worry about how we were treated and all that, you know. My parents worked as sharecroppers. They always shared what they had with us. You know, I mean, we worked, but they shared it with us. I mean, like when time come to go to school, they always gave us money, and you know, they made it known that this was for the work that you done. So that made me grow into the time where I had to work for what I got. And you know, I still got that mentality. I mean, I just work for what I get, so it instilled that in me. I didn't think farming was that important until right at the end of my dad's life, and I had just retired, and he was about to, you know, go on. He was, you know, getting sicker, and certain things he couldn't do, and so he'd always say, you need to come on and help me on the farm or whatever. And some of the things that we did, I told him one day, I said, Dad, I ain't retired to do all this crazy stuff. And he said, well, it ain't crazy as you think it is. He said, it's a way of survival. That's what he'd always say, it's a way of survival. So just hanging out with him and learning more about the farm, even after I was grown, and kind of connecting back to some of the things that I had been away from a while and all. It just seemed like I could see more.
John Moses and Laura Mae Bonner taught me many things in life.
The lesson was, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
I always try to share and try to uplift those that don't have, that's you think is not as fortunate as you. You know you may not be as fortunate as some more, but you try to help the one that's not as fortunate as you.
Being a hard worker, being fair, being firm, and being consistent with what you do. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That doesn't mean that they're going to do the same thing, but as long as you know that you're doing the right thing, God gonna bless you.